joining us now, we have Nilesh Shah of Envision Capital. We have the pleasure of having him right here in the studio on this auspicious day. Thanks, Nilesh, for coming in and joining us. Nilesh, let me start off with the one sector which has done extremely well in this Samvat, which is PSU banks. And I know you don't talk too much about PSUs, and hence even more reason we talk about it on a day like this. Give us a sense, can that kind of outperformance continue this Samvat?
Well, it looks like it's poised to kind of continue that outperformance. I mean, the last 1 year has been more about rate cuts materializing, liquidity conditions easing, the regulator going ahead and kind of making it a lot more easier for banks to lend. There's a bit of improvement in the regulatory framework as well. But really the big event is essentially going to be the divestment or the privatization of IDBI Bank. That's something which probably has got lined up for at least this financial year. Hopefully it should happen in the first half of the emerging Samvat. But if that were to happen, I probably think that would be an important kind of catalyst which could lead to a continued outperformance.
And you're seeing
this year has also been about the GST push, right? And I know same time last year we were talking about, the consumption kicking in. You were talking about the platform plays, and clearly Nykaa was one such case in point. Finally, it gets that move up, right?
No, absolutely. I mean, last year, obviously, that optimism was more driven by the demand potential.
Sure.
And the size of the market opportunity and the kind of under-penetration levels, which were then a lot of consumer categories. And with premiumization, obviously that itself was one big tailwind, and that's a structural tailwind. But what we've got in the intervening period are two big things. One is essentially the tax cuts for the middle class, the exemption limits being hiked, and the GST cuts. Both these essentially have pretty much kind of come out as basically something from unexpected quarters. And that's something which is surely going to help for the next few quarters. So I still think it's both a thematic story for the next Samvat, but I think it's going to be basically an opportunity for maybe the next decade or so.
But Nilesh, given that, the consumption pool is so large and it has pretty much the bottom-up story playing there, the rural story playing there, and then of course premiumization, which continues to rule the roost. What within consumption are you now bullish on from this juncture?
Well, from this juncture, I still believe categories like beauty, personal care, personal hygiene, they still have essentially a lot more legs to run. But more importantly, I think one more additional thing essentially is going to be the electrification of vehicles. We so far saw a lot of the electric cars come in, companies like Tata Motors, M&M, they came in and launched a few products post-COVID, and that's essentially done well. I clearly believe one segment which was relatively tepid last year was essentially the electric scooters or the electric two-wheeler segment. You now clearly looks like that pecking order has now been established. The top 3, 4, 5 names have come in, they've essentially jostled around for market share, and it looks like that the top 3, 4 players are well settled. I clearly believe now going forward, electric two-wheelers are poised for a much higher level of adoption. So even if the category doesn't grow, not the electric two-wheelers, but two-wheelers as a category grows in low single digits, electric two-wheelers have the potential to grow in a very strong double digits for the next few years.
And you can see that on the roads, at least in the metros, right?
Oh,
I mean, it's for everyone to see.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's a story on aspirations, premiumization. I think the younger commuters are willing to spend a bit more, are willing to pay for technology, are willing to pay for consumer experience. I think players here who focus on essentially adding value to commuters essentially are going to be the winners. So it's clearly not going to be about just being able to drive. It's going to be able to somebody who can deliver that experience with the help of technology, with the help of essentially a consumer stack. I think that's really where the big focus should be.
Nilesh, an extension to that would be renewable energy, right? That's a pack which we've seen 3, 4 companies now getting listed in the market from a renewable space. And then we now have the battery energy storage system also coming into the play there. Do you see these two also emerging as one of the key sectors going forward?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, clearly, I think decarbonization, electrification, renewables, whichever name you give it, essentially, I still believe has essentially a lot of room to kind of grow. Just that these are segments which have very limited entry barriers. So you really have to essentially bet on somebody who's got an early mover advantage and is willing to take a very early lead in this race. But you will see a lot of players being able to catch up. It doesn't require distribution might. All it requires essentially is being able to kind of pump in a lot of capital and be a very cost-efficient producer. These are the two attributes. Unlike the other electrification plays like electric two-wheelers, there you constantly will require innovation. You'll require R&D. You'll require technology capabilities. You'll require distribution might and your ability to convey a value proposition to the millions of consumers. That's what is required. That's a much more harder battle to kind of fight. It's a much more complex war to win. So somebody who essentially has the early mover advantage essentially will become that Jo Jeeta Wohi Sikandar.
No, but in this space, we haven't seen the big boys coming in yet. We have the Reliance and Adanis who are building up gigas, scale factories there, and they are expected to come in the next 1 year operationalizing. So the entire dynamics is going to change there in that sense.
No, absolutely. I mean, clearly, as I said, it's going to be the game of the big bucks. Who can really kind of put in, probably thousands of crores, billions of dollars, and kind of being able to produce that electricity or offer battery energy storage solutions at a much more cost effective. So it's essentially capital and cost which will determine who's going to be that winner here. And maybe there, it's going to be multiple winners. You really don't need to be that number one, number two. It's like an infrastructure play, right? You build a road, expressway, people are going to drive on that, period. There's nothing else which is going to come in out there and take away your winning proposition. Whereas any consumer-facing business, it's relentless. You need to be at it, and at it to sustain your competitive advantage.
So shall I ask you, sabse aage ladke kaun? Who are the Rajput boys? No.
No, so I think within that, and we own this. I mean, we own Ather Energy. Okay. Let's put it this way. And I think they've essentially been an early mover. They've spent a lot of years, a lot of capital trying to kind of create their edge. It looks like that they seem to be having that edge, which is sustainable. That the market share is in the mid-teens. That's a respectable market share to have. So far, at least we think that they have been able to kind of hold up market share despite the conventional legacy players like TVS and Bajaj coming in there. So I think early stage, it looks to be essentially set to at least, I'm not saying the ultimate winner, but at least for the next few years, it seems to be on a good pitch.
I was chatting with Manish Chokhani the other day, and he said that the Rajput boys to bet on are people like you and Sunil Singhania. He said, I would bet on this 40 to 50 cohort. These are the guys who are taking the market baton forward. I'll tag you on that soundbite when we put it out. But in fact, let's welcome on board Sunil Singhania as well and find out what he's been doing in this market. Sunil, hi. Firstly, wish you a very happy Diwali from all of us.
Happy Diwali, Aisha, and everyone at etnow. Wish all the viewers of etnow a great Diwali and an exciting and prosperous new year ahead.
Okay. Sunil, would love to chat more, but I've got to take a break. Diwali is all about Lakshmi, and commercials is how we make money. So I'll quickly take a